9:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Welcome into the Chris Hand Show. We got a jam-packed lineup for you today. Mac Morey producing, Ken Weaver in the newsroom, and the phone lines and super text line wide open for you, 615-737-9986. One of our super texters, Ann, is saying that she's in super text jail. There's no such thing as super text jail.
No, we'd never.
We would never do that.
Come on. Especially to Ann.
No, definitely not. And you're not in super text jail either, if you're wondering. We do try to respond to all of our super texts, but it gets a little crazy at times, as you can imagine. I mean, it seems like the world just keeps being on fire. And we have no time to figure out what happened. We have to deal with what's in front of us. John Kirby told everyone just yesterday, now's not the time to talk about intelligence failures.
John, this was a massive intelligence failure. Who bears responsibility for that?
You know something, Jackie? There's going to come a time when it's appropriate for us to take a look back retrospectively and see what the intel picture showed us or didn't show us, whether there's any gaps that need to be closed. There's going to be a time for that. And I suspect that our Israeli counterparts will do the same thing. Now's not that time.
Now's not that time. However, GOP Congressman Michael McCaul is contradicting reports, saying, he's basically saying it is the time. But there were reports that Egypt warned Israel 3 days before the Hamas terror attack. Benjamin Netanyahu said that didn't happen. And now Michael McCaul, one of our congressmen, is saying, no. It did happen.
We heard from the administration. There seems to have been a failure of intelligence as well. We're not quite sure how we missed it. We're not quite sure how Israel missed it. We know that Egypt had warned the Israelis 3 days prior that an event like this could happen. We know that this had been planned perhaps as long as a year ago.
So they know it's been planned for about a year. That was GOP Congressman Michael McCaul from Texas. And that was him speaking Wednesday and confirming what Egyptian intelligence had previously said and contradicting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. That they were warned and nothing happened. It's interesting. It seems like it's one of the most highly defended borders, and that shouldn't have happened. That being said, we're here now. Israel seems to be being attacked from two fronts now, with Hezbollah to the north, Hamas to the south, and it's just a mess. They're going on the offensive. People are dying, and this war is a mess. It's a mess. I've long said that Israel has every right to defend themselves, and I think that they're going to absolutely mop the floor with Hamas. Benjamin Netanyahu came out yesterday and said, if you're a member of Hamas, you're done. Cooked. And I believe him. But as all that's happening, we have Americans that are stuck in Israel. Stuck there. The administration says they're going to do everything they can to get them out. They do. But I just keep having these flashbacks to Afghanistan where Americans and some of our allies are stuck in Afghanistan after that sloppy pullout by the Biden administration. And they're wondering, what do we do? And they don't receive any help. Well, I mean, new reports are coming out. This is from the Gateway Pundit, that the Biden regime is forcing Americans trapped in Israel to sign promissory notes to repay all travel costs if they decide to be rescued by the government. Wow. Wow. We can give billions to Ukraine of taxpayer-funded money to a war that nobody supports, but when it comes to getting Americans out of a war zone, which I'm sure, 100% of the country can get behind, we're going to make them pay us back. Unbelievable. Again, this is from the Gateway Pundit. In a time when Americans in Israel are relying on their government support for protection, the U.S. State Department's Consular Affairs Crisis Management System has left many American citizens hanging in the wind, demanding them to sign promissory notes as a precondition for any assistance in evacuating the crisis-hit region. The so-called assisted departure options were outlined in an email sent to American citizens stranded in the Middle Eastern nation, stating that the U.S. government would offer loans for transportation. This is what the email says. This is the U.S. State Department email. The situation in Israel is still unpredictable. Mortar and rocket fire may take place without warning. Please continue to follow the instructions of security and emergency response officials. Commercial flights are available, but limited. If you wish to leave Israel, we encourage you to take advantage of those options now. U.S. carriers have temporarily suspended flights to Israel. If you choose to depart, you will need to fly to an intermediate location and book onward travel from there to the United States. We understand there's high demand from U.S. citizens wishing to depart, and the flight options are reduced. In the coming days, we hope to assist U.S. citizens with transportation options to depart Israel. Due to the large number of U.S. citizens indicating interest in departure assistance, we will plan to offer transit over several days. If you choose to take this departure assistance, transportation may be by air or sea and will be to a nearby safe location and not the United States. Travelers should be prepared to arrange their own lodging at the safe location and pay for their onward travel from the third country to their chosen destination. Departure assistance is provided via a loan from the U.S. government, which requires travelers to sign a promissory note and agreement to repay prior to departure. So you can get a loan from the U.S. government for gender studies at your favorite woke college, and you don't have to pay that back. But if you want to leave a war-torn country, the Biden administration is going to make you pay. Nice. Unbelievable. This is our government. Now, there was a communications manager at the American Accountability Foundation, Yitz Friedman, and he shared his experience while he was trapped in Israel on a Twitter post. He said Friedman and his wife had found themselves trapped in Israel after their original flight back to the U.S. was canceled. When they reached out to the U.S. Embassy for assistance, Friedman recounts that they were basically told to pound sand. Pound sand. Signed the American government. This is what he wrote on Twitter. My wife and I have finally gotten ourselves on the way home to U.S. from Israel after days of fear and tremendous anxiety. Our original flight was canceled, while Poland, Hungary, Brazil, Romania, and other countries sent planes to bring their citizens home from the war zone. Our government told us to fend for ourselves. I literally called our embassy asking for help and was essentially told to pound sand. So Poland, Hungary, Brazil, Romania, all these countries that in our mind, we as Americans, we feel like we're elevated from, we have this inflated sense of ourselves in America. We're higher on the food chain than Poland, Hungary, Brazil, Romania, right? These countries are sending planes to bring their citizens home. And our government is telling our citizens, yeah, not today. We're full. Unbelievable. But, if you're sneaking across the southern border, well, here's a cell phone and some welfare assistance for you and a court date for 6 years from now. We hope to see you. Crazy. Friedman continued on X, Twitter. I hate calling it X. Continued on Twitter. Is this what it means to be an American abroad? Almost all American airlines received taxpayer bailouts, and they were the first to abandon us. They were the first to cancel all flights. And that is such a good point. Not only do we pay the bills for our government with our tax dollars, we bail out these airlines. And nobody can help American citizens abroad. But Poland, Romania, Hungary, Brazil, no problem. They send planes to bring their citizens home. Our country is in decline. You can see it everywhere you look. And this is just another example. And let me remind you, again, in Afghanistan, up to 9,000 Americans were left behind to fend for themselves against the Taliban just a year ago. 2022. Contrary to the unhelpful stance of the U.S. administration, the Gateway Pundit writes, and the American Airlines, Friedman expressed his gratitude towards, wait for it, former President Donald Trump's foreign policy initiatives. Specifically, he highlighted the Trump-brokered Abraham Accords, which paved the way for diplomatic relations between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. According to Friedman, if it weren't for the Abraham Accords, the option to fly to a friendly Arab country during a time of war would have been unthinkable. So we're still seeing positive ripple effects from the Trump administration, guys. We're still seeing positive ripple effects. All the never-Trumpers out there, just remember, if it wasn't for Donald Trump's Abraham Accords, according to Friedman, a man who was stuck in Israel and the government would not help him, effectively told him to pound sand, in his own words. If it wasn't for Donald Trump, flying to an Arab country that was friendly during a time of war would have been unthinkable. Instead, luckily, Friedman and his wife were able to leave Israel via an Emirates flight, passing through multiple armed military checkpoints to reach the airport and ultimately finding safety in Dubai. He went on to say, I would like to thank President Trump. After days of fear and anxiety in Israel, I'm finally on my way home to the U.S. Almost every airline canceled all flights, including our flight home. We weren't sure what to do. Luckily, one of the few airlines still running is Emirates. My wife and I just flew from Tel Aviv, passing 3 or 4 armed military checkpoints to get to the airport. And we're now safe in Dubai, waiting for our connecting flight to the U.S. If not for Trump's Abraham Accords, this would have been unthinkable. There would be no flights from Israel to the UAE to be able to fly to a friendly Arab country when even American flights won't dare at a time of war. It is miraculous. Thanks to Trump's efforts, Friedman wrote, thousands of American citizens have a way home from a very dangerous situation. Even as it seems the Middle East is imploding, the historic peace agreement is making things a little better. So again, if it weren't for Donald Trump, it would be a lot worse in the Middle East right now. Unbelievable. Hey, Tom in Nashville, you're on line 1. Tom, what's up? You're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Yo, Tom. Oh, Tom hung up.
Tom ghosted you.
Tom ghosted me. Tom just treated me the way the Biden administration is treating American citizens in Israel right now. Tom told me to pound sand.
Hey, could I have some help?
Yeah. Jeez, thanks, Tom. I must have left him on hold for too long.
Yes, that's it. He's impatient.
Tom, if you're listening, I was gonna get to you. I wouldn't have made you pay for the call. I'm not the Biden administration. It wasn't long distance either. He said he was in Nashville.
He was in Nashville. He was on hold for like 2 minutes.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Well, the phone lines are now open because Tom is no longer with us.
Tom broke the seal.
615-737-9986. You can text in as well. We have more audio on the way, including Kamala Harris was, what was the name of the tour that she was on?
Freedom for, let me see real quick. I think I got it right here. Fight for Our Freedom College Tour.
And the way she walked in, it sounded the way Mac walks into a bar on Broadway. We got audio from that on the way for you. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Israel at war, started by Hamas. And whether you hear what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, his message for the terrorist organization Hamas. That's coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It's 9:26 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thursday, but if you're keeping score at home, it's Max Friday.
Woo! Well, yeah, Chiefs play tonight. Tomorrow will be...
Are you going to have the woo flu
have the
tomorrow?
woo flu, man.
All right,
come on.
good
Brother
to know.
Mac's going to have a stomachache.
Usually-
hopefully it won't be because his Chiefs lost.
Oh, no.
Who are they playing tonight?
Got the Denver Broncos.
All right, I got to find a Broncos shirt just in case.
We've beaten them 15 straight times. I feel good.
If anybody has a Broncos shirt, you want to let me borrow one, let me know. Rudy in Murfreesboro, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Rudy? Hey, hey, what's up, Rudy?
Yeah, I tried to time it to where I could ghost you, but I missed it, man. Sorry. What you were talking about, I agree with a lot of that stuff. It's just crazy that we don't have any rights, basically, if we're traveling. But everybody who can try to get into this country seems to have rights, and we're called racist because we don't agree with that, and we're pushed off to the side, yet we're still paying taxes, and our government can't help us. That is so lame.
Oh, it's crazy. And then these
Things going on.
and alleged third world countries have no problem sending planes to get their citizens out. It's crazy. I got a text from a guy named Kevin. He said, well, if you can find a ride to Mexico, you can just walk in for free.
There you go. But what about all the planes they sent to Afghanistan?
Yeah.
And that was still messed up, but look at all the planes they sent there. All of a sudden they can't put some of those, transports over there to pick us up. I don't get it.
I don't get it either, and it just seems like it's intentional demoralization strategy from the Biden regime. That's the only thing I can really.
What do we do? I just feel so sort of helpless. I can talk to people about it if they want to talk about it, but I just hope any independents or people that thought this was going to be a great administration, it was going to be like Trump, but not mean Trump. I hope they're looking at this and understanding it had nothing to do with the motion and the way somebody talks about stuff. It has everything to do with their plan just to beat us down.
Yeah, actions are louder than words. You're absolutely right. Thanks for the call, Rudy. I really appreciate it. What do you do as an American citizen? I don't have any means to go to Israel and get people out. And then I also get nervous donating to NGOs. Okay, well, if I donate to a private organization that's going to do it, how much is going to the CEO? Mm-hmm. It's crazy. How do you navigate those waters? I don't have any good advice for you. I just don't. Luckily, there are people out there that are doing things to get Americans out of the war zone, including one Florida congressman. I'm going to tell you about his efforts to get Americans out of the war zone right after Ken Weaver's news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got a crash in Hendersonville causing quite a problem right there in front of TriStar Hospital. It is Vietnam Veterans Boulevard westbound right after New Shackle Island Road. You got a crash there. Talks are underway to create safe passage out of Gaza. This is the latest in the continuing coverage. Israel at war started by Hamas. Speaking alongside our nation's top diplomat, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Prime Minister Netanyahu expressed his disdain for the militants.
Hamas is ISIS, and just as ISIS was crushed, so too will Hamas be crushed.
And to that end, Blinken says U.S. weapons are being shipped in. Elsewhere in our nation's capital, it's not clear whether the House will seat a speaker as soon as today. 4th District Congressman Scott Desjardins telling WTN's Nashville's Morning News this morning.
We don't really have a good, clear schedule for today. The House is supposed to meet at noon. We don't know what for yet. I'm still waiting on further information as to what the next move is.
Majority Leader Steve Scalise was nominated over Jim Jordan, but the vote's not there yet to go to the House floor to make it Speaker. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've been teaching investing on Nashville airwaves for over 20 years with the Investor Coaching Show. And in that time, I taught a lot about how markets work and how we invest money and academic principles of investing money. But I've also talked an awful lot about how to avoid the mistakes that people often make with their money. Think about it. A lot of people sold out of the market at the worst time when COVID struck, or when TARP happened, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or gold, they invested in that at the worst time. Bailing out of the market because they were worried about Y2K or 9/11, or jumping into energy stocks, or jumping into cryptocurrency. One of the things that I like to do is educate investors, because I believe that the more educated you are, the more confident you are, and the more confident you are, the more successful you can be as an investor. Now, I not only do that on our radio show, but we do that in our offices around the Nashville region, 10 offices. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
I want to start with the efforts to get Americans out of Israel right now. I think Senator Josh Hawley sort of summed it up, what many people are asking. Here's a social media post he put out. He said, quote, "For the second time in 2 years, Americans are stranded in a war zone. What's the plan to get them out?" How can you answer that question?
Well, a couple of things here. First of all, commercial flights are still going in and out of Ben Gurion Airport, so that's always an option for those who may want to leave. There are still some viable ground routes, and we're exploring many other options as well to see if there's other things that we could do to help Americans who want to leave.
That was John Kirby responding to Josh Hawley's tweets. I like Josh Hawley. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 937. My name is Chris Hand. Josh Hawley is going to be speaking at Turning Point USA's America Fest. I'm excited to see that. I'll be broadcasting there live when it happens in December. So maybe we can get Josh on the show. But Josh responded to Kirby right there saying, oh, there's plenty of routes. You get a commercial flight. Josh Hawley says, buy a commercial flight? They're canceling commercial flights left and right. Americans are stranded. The Biden administration is going to have to do better than this. Yeah, you think? Also, ground routes? Did Kirby say there's viable ground routes?
What? For those who may want to leave, there are still some viable ground routes.
Which way, sir? It's like,
I'd love to see Kirby try the ground routes.
Like, just put in walking on on Apple Maps, and there's viable routes.
What?
Just just hop on the Boot Leather Express if you can't find a flight. Jeez, thanks. So the Biden administration, second time in 2 years, leaving Americans stranded. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley is very disappointed. And Hawley's office is working with constituents in the region who wish to return to the United States. And he sent a letter yesterday to, his words, not mine, the Honorable Antony Blinken. That's who it was addressed to. It said, Dear Secretary Blinken, I write with concern over the security situation in Israel and the safety of American citizens still in the region following the barbaric terrorist attacks on Israel by Hamas. My office has received multiple reports of Missourians in Israel who are seeking to leave the region but are struggling to find transportation out of the country. With the growing number of commercial airlines canceling flights out of Israel, I urge you to consider additional U.S. government-facilitated transport options for Americans attempting to return home. The Bureau of Consular Affairs informed my office yesterday that the State Department is currently not involved with airlifts and evacuation or assisted departure of U.S. citizens. Today, your office informed mine that the State Department continues to encourage U.S. citizens to look at available commercial options to depart Israel. While I appreciate the initial information provided on Sunday to help my constituents contact the U.S. Embassy, this is no longer sufficient. New clarity about travel assistance is urgently required. I urge you to work with your counterparts across federal agencies to bring to bear all available resources and authorities, including charter flights, to assist Americans that remain in Israel with returning home to their families. On behalf of my constituents who remain in the region, I request the answers to the following questions from your office as soon as possible. Is the State Department actively planning to provide additional travel assistance to Americans in Israel? Is the department or any U.S. agencies planning to conduct airlifts or equivalent government-facilitated transportation to help Americans in the region return home? If plans have been made, how will the State Department communicate those travel options? And when can Americans expect information on how to return home? When can we expect decisions about transportation to be made? I look forward to a timely response from your office, and thank you for your attention to this matter. That was Josh Hawley's letter to Secretary Antony Blinken. It's an absolute mess. How are you going to get people home? He provides 4 questions for Blinken. I figure like I could probably answer these. Is the State Department actively planning to provide additional travel assistance to Americans in Israel? No. Okay, so that's question 1. Question 2, is the department or any other U.S. agencies planning to conduct airlifts or equivalent government-facilitated transportation to help Americans in the region return home? Probably not. If plans have been made, I'll cut that one off early. They haven't. When can Americans expect information on how to return home? Well, John Kirby was on TV today. He said,
Viable ground routes.
there's viable ground routes. What a mess. So Americans are stranded. One Florida congressman is doing something. He is on the ground out there. A guy by the name of Corey Mills. Floridian Rep. Mills is on the ground in Israel helping evacuate Americans. According to Mills, he has already rescued 32 Americans, but there are still hundreds trapped in Israel. Mills would not disclose his exact position for obvious security reasons, but said that helping and showing solidarity with our Israeli brethren and helping Americans evacuate is what he's doing after the heinous Hamas attack was something he, as an American, felt compelled to do. Rep. Brian Mass, another Republican who volunteered in the IDF after leaving the U.S. military, told the Floridian, the newspaper reporting this, that Rep. Mills had told him and other members of Florida's congressional delegation that he would be traveling to Israel. Before being elected to the House of Representatives, Mills and a team of military contractors also rescued an American family from Afghanistan during the Biden administration's botched 2021 withdrawal. So Mills is pretty used to getting in there and cleaning up the mess of the Biden administration. He did it in Afghanistan. He's doing it again in Israel. Kudos to him. He can get a lot more done when you just do it yourself, I suppose, as opposed to waiting for the Biden administration. I mean, we read that. We read the note from a American citizen who is trapped in Israel, Yitz Friedman. He says, one of the only reasons he was even able to get out was because of Donald Trump and the Abraham Accords and the peace that was brokered by him, Donald Trump, and the United Arab Emirates to give him a peaceful Arab country to even be able to go to. He posted that on X or Twitter. Whatever.
Twitter. Yeah.
We're just going to go with Twitter.
Yeah, X.
Lacey and Dixon, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Lacey? How are you?
Hey, good morning.
What's up? What's going on?
Hey, I think that $6 billion we gave Iran would probably cover the cost to get Americans home.
Really,
this
is a crazy scenario. I think we could buy a few flights. We could buy a couple planes with that $6 billion.
Yeah, they could fly first class. But really, the reason I called is a little bit off topic, but the guy was talking about Twitter.
Yeah,
and to me, this is low hanging fruit. Twitter and X. The obvious choice for me is Twix.
Twix,
like a candy bar.
Oh, all right. And
so I'm trying to coin a phrase.
I like it, Twix, and it's
Twix.
I mean, that's where everybody argues about politics, left side, right side. So I'm with it.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, but Joe does have a habit of leaving people in the war zones. It's Americans anyway.
I mean, you think that he would have thought this one through before leaving Americans stranded again.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to get on Twix and talk about it.
All right, brother, I appreciate you. Make sure you're following me at Chris Hand on Air. I'll follow you back, all right? Joe, you have a comment about Brittany Griner. Joe, you're on Super Talk? Is it Brittany Griner you wanted to talk about, Joe?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you a question. He kind of stole my thunder with the $6 billion? Are those guys that they just brought back that we had to pay $6 billion to get out? Are they going to have to pay back that $1.2 billion apiece? And they had a pothead anti-American woman over there got thrown in jail by her own accord. And you know how I feel about it. I talked to you guys about the China thing the other day, and I heard Brother Dan talking about the China connection this morning before the Band of Four Amigos. And anyways, you know how I feel about my tax dollars being pulled out. I mean, I'd donate my tax dollars to get somebody out, but you don't get a choice in where your tax dollars go. But did Brittany Griner have to pay her travel time, her travel back, or did she have to grow some pot for him, or what? I mean, how did that work? Did she get a free flight? I mean, I don't understand it.
I'm sure that she didn't have to pay any of that back. I'm sure the Iran hostages don't have to pay any of that back, and it's such a great point, Joe. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Did Brittany Griner have to pay any of that back? I doubt it. I doubt it.
No clue. Probably not.
No. Well, she plays basketball. So
important stuff.
High value. high value acquisition. What a joke of a country.
Multi-time All-Star, man.
I mean, so if you're just joining us, the Biden regime is forcing Americans trapped in Israel to sign promissory notes to repay all travel costs if they decide to be rescued by the U.S. government. Got to pay that money back. Brittany Griner, she gets out of Russia. She doesn't have to pay anything back. We get hostages out of Iran. We pay for them. They're not going to have to pay that $1.2 billion a piece back. Of course not. I mean, are we going to be freezing the $6 billion that we sent over to Iran? Is that, can we do that? Donald Trump was giving remarks in Florida last night, and he said he would freeze that money immediately. And he's calling on Joe Biden to do the same.
Crooked Joe must take back and freeze the $6 billion right now. Take it back and freeze it, Joe. Freeze it, Joe, you dumb person. Dumb person.
Okay. I feel like that was a little bit censored. I feel like he was holding back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Dumb. We'll just go with dumb. Dumb. David in Columbia, you got an idea for Trump. David, you're on Super Talk. What's up, man?
Man, I tell you what, if Donald Trump would send his planes over there to get the Americans home, I think that would be an absolute power move.
Oh, that would be a grand slam if they sent Trump Force One to go pick some people up.
Could you imagine that? That would be insane.
Hey, I'm all for it. Thanks for the call, David. That's a great idea. Somebody get that idea to Trump. I don't know how we do that. I would say tweet him. Truth him. Somebody truth him. Truth him quick.
Twix him.
He was saying in Florida last night, he's not pulling any punches with Iran. He says that he would shut off the Iranian oil and turn our oil back on.
Joe gave us the war on Israel and the war on American energy. What he did to our energy was we were energy independent. Think of it as president, I will shut off Iranian oil and I will turn on American oil, and we will drill, baby, drill, and we'll get things back to where they are supposed to be.
It does feel like we're kind of in a precarious position because of the fact we're no longer energy independent. You know, you have the BRICS nations moving about. They're looking at de-dollarization within the next 3 years. It seems like people are picking sides for World War III, which just seems to be right over the horizon. And I can't help but agree with President Trump that things would be a lot more simple if we were energy independent. Don't you agree?
Under my leadership, the United States will fully support Israel defeating, dismantling, and permanently destroying the terrorist group Hamas.
Trump giving remarks last night in Florida, holding a rally. I mean, he just continually brings up good points. It seems like our current administration doesn't support Israel. In fact, they send $6 billion over to Iran that then funds Hamas, that then, executes citizens in the street. Unbelievable. Just seems like a bad dream sometimes. Like, think about where this country was in 2019 and think about where we are today.
Trump was right and Joe Biden was wrong.
Yeah. You can hit it again, Mac.
Trump was right and Joe Biden was wrong.
9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Israel at war, started by Hamas. Shipments of U.S. weaponry arriving daily. This story and more at 10 on Supertalk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. 9:58 on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. That last caller we had, who was his? What was his name? I'm blanking on his name. But his idea was Trump should send Trump Force One over to pick up Americans in Israel.
Is it Lacey?
Lacey.
Okay.
Nailed it. Everybody on the super text line loves that idea. 0338. If he flew his planes over and rescued Americans, he would definitely win by a landslide. ... Well, at least it would make it harder for the left to cheat.
Bingo.
Fair enough, 0338. Is that where we're at right now? Are we just trying to make it harder for them to cheat? Maybe
That's
so.
the bar. That's the bar.
Maybe so. Rocco texted in. He said, we should aid BLM to fly to Palestine. Yeah. I mean, they're so fond of paragliders at BLM Chicago. We wouldn't even have to land the plane. We could just kick them out. Just drop them in.
Man, that was not good.
Optics-wise, what are you thinking, bro?
Yikes.
Like, hey, we're BLM Chicago, and we support murdering civilians and stuff. Oh, jeez. All right.
All right, sweet.
I saw one Twitter post. I put it on my Instagram at Chris Hand on Air. I added it to my story. So this guy, he says, this guy David Weissman, he tweeted on April 5th, 2021, I will never stop saying Black Lives Matter, and I may even get myself a shirt. And then he tweeted on the 10th, so 2 days ago, F them. Maybe the right was right about Black Lives Matter. Yep. Get used to that. We were right. Trump was right.
Trump was right, and Joe Biden was wrong.
Orange man good. 10 o'clock on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Ken Weaver's got the latest headlines on Supertalk.
Ten o'clock on the dot this Thursday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. That fog burning off nicely out there now that we're going to get some more sun than we had yesterday. Tell you about the cool down on the way, too, during the full forecast in 2 minutes. Israel at war, continuing coverage.
Could a ground invasion from Israel into Gaza be coming? That's the fear as the war between Israel and Hamas continues for a sixth day. About 1,200 killed in Israel, including 25 Americans, some 1,300 dead in Gaza in retaliation.
This is a time, a particular time, a special time, that we must stand tall, proud, and united against evil.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, the two leaders affirming their stance against Hamas.
It's impossible for me to look at the photos of families killed, such as the mother, father, and 3 small children murdered as they sheltered in their home in Kibbutz near Oz, and not think of my own children.
Secretary Blinken also focused on rescuing an untold number of Americans missing, being held hostage, or stranded in the war.
Yeah, shipments of U.S. weapons arriving in Israel daily now. Elsewhere in our nation's capital, it's not clear whether the House will seat a speaker as soon as today. Tennessee 4th District Congressman Scott DesJarlais telling WTN's Nashville's Morning News this morning Steve Scalise was nominated, but there's no clear consensus to take it to the floor.
There are a handful of people that absolutely will not vote for Steve Scalise. There's a handful of people that won't vote for Jim Jordan. And frankly, I don't know if they'd vote for anybody. I don't know who their perfect candidate would be.
House meets at 11 o'clock Middle Tennessee time this morning, but DesJarlais says no one knows for what exactly. We have the latest reading on inflation.
The bumpy road through inflation continued Thursday as consumer prices climbed a little more than expected in September. They were up 0.4% from August. The year-to-year increase held at 3.7%. Core prices, which exclude food and energy, were up by 4.1% from the year before. That's the smallest increase in 2 years. On the whole, though, prices are still going up faster than the Fed's 2% inflation target, but the nation's central bank has indicated it's not likely to announce another rate hike this month.
Brian Clark reporting. By the way, Social Security recipients going to get an increase in disbursements next year. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey everybody, Dan Mattis with Nashville's Morning News on WTN. I'm here at the Nashville Rescue Mission doing the interviews that I look forward to doing every single year. These are incredible stories of people who have had amazing recoveries. Thanks to this amazing facility, they are able to get clean and lead a more productive life. The date of our annual radiothon is going to be Monday, November 20th. Listen in and please donate. You can get more information at 99.7 WTN, including a link to the website for Nashville's Rescue Mission.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I do want to make a clarification. It was our friend David from Colombia that said Trump Force One should swing through and pick up American citizens from Israel. So I just wanted to point that out.
Credit where credit's due.
Also, we got another text from 6830 who says he's in WTN super texter jail. Also, Max said it doesn't exist, but he had a California area code, so that could have contributed.
My mistake. Let me reclose that cell real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, unsent. We're just kidding. You don't get put into super text jail, even if you have a California area code. We just,
slightly judge.
We just slightly judge. 6766 texted in, said Trump Force One would be a target, I think. An unmarked plane wouldn't be a bad idea. Yeah, it probably would be.
But I think that Trump idea kind of makes me think of like, okay, well, there are a bunch of rich people who could do this, right?
Yeah, why not?
Yep.
Well, you got to worry about your carbon footprint, right? They usually only take their private jets to, the World Economic Forum to talk about how they're going to lower carbon emissions. So maybe we can, do two things at once. I don't know. 8375 had a great point. If weapons and ammunition are being sent to Israel daily, why can't they put Americans on whatever planes or vehicles to get them out since they're empty? Well, I think that's because that makes sense. 8375, and this is the Joe Biden administration we're dealing with. And Kamala Harris was in Charleston yesterday on a tour with none other than Justin Jones, and this is the Biden administration. Okay, Kamala Harris, she just doesn't make any sense. Oh, I got to turn my audio on. Actually, you probably don't want me to turn the audio on, but anyway.
I'll tell you one of the things about me. So I'm kind of a nerd on certain levels about certain things. So here's one reveal.
What do you think she's going to reveal, Mac?
Gosh, I don't know. It's just going to be something cringy.
No guesses? You're going to hear it and you're going to go, I knew I should have guessed that.
Oh, I don't know. She collects like webkins or something weird and creepy. I don't know. What does she do?
I love Venn diagrams. I love Venn diagrams.
Even Justin Jones is sitting there like, yo, this is cringeworthy.
Why does she always bring this up?
I don't understand it. I don't understand why they insist on just imagining that the internet doesn't exist. I mean, there's a highlight reel out there of her going on about Venn diagrams that's got to be 20 minutes long because she brings it up all the time.
I'm telling you, whenever I'm facing like a conflict and I need to sort it out, give me a Venn diagram every day of the week, right?
Yeah, a Venn diagram, probably a Xanax and a glass of wine too. It's like if you were doing a Venn diagram, and one thing was Xanax, one thing was a glass of wine. The overlap are things Kamala likes. What a clown. I also noticed that whenever she stands behind President Biden and does these speeches, she has the same demeanor of the old school wrestling manager, Mr. Fuji. She just looks like an evil WWF wrestling manager, just like behind him.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Just keeping an eye out.
Yeah. The spotlight's going to come down.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. She's got a Venn diagram. Get down. Robert in Murfreesboro, you have a theory on CNN and their Israel coverage. Robert, what's up? You're on Super Talk.
Hey, how y'all doing today?
What's up, Robert? Good, man. How are you?
I'm just sitting here, decided I'd flip over. I'd watch CNN just to see what the other side thinks sometimes. It's just funny how I've seen in the last 3 days things slowly go exactly like I thought they would. It went from so many people were killed, Israelis were killed. Then there was so many Israeli and Palestinians were killed. Now it's 1,200 killed in Israel and over 1,400 killed in Gaza Strip. So what they're going to do is they're going to build a body camp in the Gaza where that Blinken said you must obey the rules of war, and then they're going to accuse Israel of being the bully, and within a week you're going to have Israel's the bad guy, and it's the poor people, the poor Palestinians, poor Hamas, because the other thing they're pushing is the hospitals only have a day's worth of fuel left, and those are all not going to be hospitals. They're just going to be morgues after that. You can just, I mean, it's like they got a playbook, and they've used it so many times. It's almost like watching the Titans call plays. You usually call them before they happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, to me, it drives me crazy because it's like, because Israel is civilized and the most Western out of all the Middle Eastern countries, they're held to a higher standard. But CNN is going to completely ignore the fact that, they'll say, a school got blown up, but they won't tell you that they put rocket launchers on top of the schools,
Well, yeah, the other thing they like to say is there's no shelters. There's no bomb shelters in Gaza. Hello. Everybody knows there's tunnels all over Gaza. It's where they're hiding ammunition. It's probably where the hostages are.
Nailed it.
So if they wanted to protect, if I was Israel, though, I would completely destroy it. When I got done, there wouldn't be a Gaza Strip. It would be Israel's looking for land for their people to settle. That would be Israelis would be living there when this is all done.
Yeah.
I would bomb them and keep pushing them, and I'd push every one of them into Egypt. So there you go. Those are your Islamic brothers. Those are Muslims. Y'all take care of them. We don't have room for them no more.
Yeah.
And you eliminate the problem.
No, hey, I mean, that's one way to do it. Thanks for the call, Robert. I appreciate it. You know, I do. Part of me feels bad for the civilians in Gaza, but Hamas has a 44% approval rating in Gaza and in Palestine. Like, the country, if you want to call it that, they support them. So I don't know. It's hard for me to feel bad for the Palestinians. It's like I watch Timcast and Tim Pool, and he has this analogy. It's like if somebody's in a prison screaming, "Help! Help! Let me out! Let me out! Help! Help! Let me out!" You go, "Oh gosh, they've been in prison a long time. Maybe I should let them out." And then the first thing that they do when you let them out of the prison is they run up to a civilian and start stabbing him. You probably go, "Oh well, maybe they should have been in prison.
Should have stayed there."
Yeah, maybe. Maybe we should. Yeah. It just seems like that's what happens with Palestine. It's like, help us, you know, we need help. And then they take any opportunity. They're not trying to like flee the Gaza Strip. They're not trying to flee to freedom. They take any opportunity to kill Israelis. So it's hard for me to feel bad. John Kirby, he continues to defend the fact that the Biden administration gave $6 billion to Iran, but he does agree that Hamas wouldn't be able to function at all if it wasn't for Iran. This was him yesterday.
Hamas wouldn't have been able to function at all had it not been for propping up by the Iranian regime. But we haven't seen any specific evidence that tells us they were witting, involved in the planning, or involved in the resourcing and the training that went into this very complex set of attacks over the weekend. Hamas wouldn't.
And that just seems patently false. All the reporting is saying that this has been planned for quite a long time and that Iran gave them the green light. So, I mean, believe what you want to believe, do your own research, but it certainly seems like they are working hand in hand. But you know, while he won't investigate that, he also won't investigate the intelligence failures on the Israeli border. Says that's not the time. Well, when is it going to be the time to look into these kind of things, John? They don't know. They don't know. And John Kirby again says he has no information on airlifting U.S. citizens out of Israel.
Congressman Lawler just said on TV that they're expecting an announcement within 24 hours about an airlift to the U.S. citizens. Can you tell us anything about that?
I don't have any details for you on that. I would just tell you, Peter, that we're in State Department is in active touch with American citizens in Israel. Many of them, as you well know, are dual nationals, to try to make sure that A, we've got the connection, and B, that we know if they have any concerns. Like in the case that they want to leave. So we're in active conversations with Americans on the ground there.
They are in active conversations with Americans on the ground. In fact, they're telling them if you want to leave, you're gonna have to pay us back. So that's nice. Just I don't know why they put John Kirby up at a podium when he's just gonna say, I don't have any information about that. I'm not investigating this. I don't have any information about that. I'm not investigating that. It just seems ridiculous. John Kirby was also asked about the oil that's being brought in by Iran.
Is the amount of oil that's being brought in by Iran, specifically records amount, 85% to China, and more oil being sold above the price cap from Russia, giving the president any pause on changing these energy policies for fossil fuels here in the U.S.?
Let me back up a little bit. I mean, it's important to remember that Iran gets most of its oil revenue off the black market, and evading sanctions, which they do, it's costly to them. In fact, Our evidence is that they really only receive a fraction of the market value of the oil that they sell because they have to sell it on the black market. We will always, as we do in any case, typically revisit sanctions regimes to see if they need to be changed or adjusted, specifically with respect to Iranian oil. The president, since the beginning of the administration, has been concerned about making sure we have a viable global market for oil, working hard to keep the prices of gasoline down here in the United States. Part of that is making sure you remove some of the volatility in that global supply and demand.
And the other part is depleting our strategic reserves. That's how he's really been keeping our gas prices down here, if you want to call it keeping it down at all. The only way forward is to become energy independent and drill. Lindsay in Pleasant Shade. Lindsay, you got a bone to pick? You're on Super Talk. What's up?
Well, I called a couple days ago, and you bawled me out pretty good. I'm the one that said we should blow them off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And you should thank me, actually, for giving you content all day long, because many caller-inners and texters agreed with me. And I didn't mean it like right this second. I do think Israel can take care of themselves. And I do want Trump back. I want the money put in the right places. And I had just called to tell you I missed you and that I didn't believe you were at your sister's wedding. I think you were out at a barbecue with Tay-Tay. We want a picture of the dress. And you bawled me out bad, so now I think I'm on the don't call list.
No, there's no such thing as a don't call list, Lindsay. I promise.
Well, how come you're so nice to everyone else? So many people have called you a pacifist that now you're like, I don't feel sorry for any of those people in the Gaza Strip. Well, I do. I have a heart.
Well, I don't feel
sorry for all the civilians.
No, I don't, and I know you have a heart. I wasn't saying that you don't have a heart. I feel like they've asked for a lot of this. I still don't want to advocate genocide, and
I didn't either.
I understand that. I get you. It's a figure of speech. I wasn't, and I apologize if I bawled you out. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
Hey, I appreciate you listening, Lindsay.
I love you, brother.
I love you back, and I promise you, I was at my sister's wedding, not at Taylor Swift's barbecue. I wasn't. All right. I promise. Thanks for the call, Lindsay. That was the nicest bone to pick I've ever gotten.
Yeah, I was a little nervous. I didn't know where I was going to go.
I thought Lindsay was going to give me the what now.
No, Lindsay's too sweet to do that.
I honestly, Lindsay seems like if she had like a real bone to pick with me, she'd let me have it.
Oh yeah, we would know. Yeah, it'd still be going right now, I think.
All right. Put Lindsay on the list of people I'm actively frightened about. I don't ever want to mess with Lindsay in Pleasant Shade. You shouldn't either. That's the best advice I can give you. It is 10:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. This is the Chris Hand Show.
America's top soldier, letting the world know that the United States can walk and chew gum at the same time. Details at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. And yeah, I mean, I feel like the U.S. can walk and chew gum at the same time. It's just Joe that can't. Just Joe.
Bingo.
Crashing bikes and economies, right? And leaving Americans behind.
Yeah, add that to the list now.
Biden-Harris 2024. Is that the slogan? That's the new slogan.
It's working.
I think that's the slogan.
It's working.
It's working.
It's working. Well, John Fetterman said he was funny. He was on Colbert, and he made a great point. Although I don't know if he realized he was also making about himself. He said, I'll let you listen to what he said.
You all should need to know that America is not sending their best and brightest, to Washington, D.C. Yes. Sometimes you literally just can't believe, these people are making the decisions that are, determining the government here. It's actually scary.
It is scary.
Yeah, no dip, Sherlock.
Very low self-awareness. Very low self-awareness, Senator Fetterman. Says America's not sending their best and brightest to Washington, D.C.
You all should need to know that America is not sending their best and brightest, to Washington, D.C.
Yeah, we know. Trust me.
We've caught on.
We're picking up what you're putting down. Don't worry. As he reads off his iPhone translator because he's stroked out. Poor guy. I don't know. I don't really know where I pivot from with that. But that's what he does.
Super dope.
It's what he does. Hey, did you hear about remember in Philadelphia the journalist that got murdered?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? Well, they caught the guy that killed him. Apparently, this journalist, Josh Kruger, in Philadelphia, wasn't just a leftist, wasn't just an activist. He was also a pedophile.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, weird. Was it, you ever see on Instagram, it'll say just girly things? I feel like we could get written in cursive underneath it, just Democrat things.
Just Democrat things.
Just Democrat things. So Robbie Starbuck posted this last night. Everybody's kind of been posting this. Josh Kruger, the Philadelphia journalist who was just saying, oh, big cities don't have crime. Big cities are fine. He was murdered in his home. They arrested a 19-year-old. And the 19-year-old shared that he was being raped by Josh Kruger, this journalist, since he was 15. That Josh Kruger would give him drugs and expensive gifts. And the story gets much, much darker. Apparently, the shooter's family, the guy that killed the journalist, Josh Kruger, are saying that Josh Kruger had a sex tape of them together and threatened to release it.
That's horrific.
Awful. I mean, I don't know.
And why was that 19-year-old was arrested?
For murder.
Gotcha.
I don't know. Did I just become in favor of no cash bail? Does that just happen?
Wow.
I mean, I don't want to advocate for murder. Obviously, that was a joke, but you can't blame a kid for doing that if what is being accused is true. That this journalist, leftist activist journalist Josh Kruger, started a relationship with this young man, Davis, when he was just 15. And that they began this is from the Philadelphia Inquirer, they began a years-long relationship involving drugs, and that Davis told them Kruger was threatening to post sexually explicit videos of him online before police say Davis shot Kruger. The assertions are from Davis's mother and older brother in recent interviews with the Inquirer, and they add, this is all from the Inquirer, they add troubling new complexities to a killing that has garnered national attention. Their account, they said, is drawn from recent conversations with Davis and from years of watching his life unravel as he tried to keep the relationship and his drug addiction hidden. Awful. Awful.
It's tragic.
These people are sick. If these accusations are true.
Yeah, if what's alleged is true, yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe it's easy to scapegoat out and say, oh, X happened, that's why. But I don't know. I tend to I lean towards believing these accusations. But we'll see how it plays out in the court of law. It is 10:29 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, True Social, at Chris Hand on air. If you hit the follow button, I'll do my best to follow back, as long as you don't look like a Russian bot. If you look like a Russian bot, I will probably not follow back.
That's fair.
Full disclosure. But if you reply to me and just say based, I'll make sure I hit the follow button. It's 10:30 on Super Talk. Here's Ken Weaver with the news.
$10:30 on the dot this Thursday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Looks like the fog's burned off across most of Middle Tennessee. Going to be around 80 degrees for the high today. About the same tomorrow before the changes come that cool us down. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Israel at war after Hamas started it. And Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's in meetings at NATO headquarters, letting the world know.
Make no mistake. We can and will stand by Israel even as we stand by Ukraine. The United States can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Meanwhile, U.S. military support arriving daily in Israel. Later today in our nation's capital, no clear sign when Republicans will seat a new speaker. The House set to meet in about half an hour, but Tennessee 4th District Congressman Scott Desjardins telling us this morning no one really knows why exactly.
We're really paralyzed at a pretty important time.
Majority Leader Steve Scalise won nomination for Speaker yesterday, but still not enough support to take a full floor vote. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've been teaching investing on Nashville airwaves for over 20 years with the Investor Coaching Show. And in that time, I taught a lot about how markets work and how we invest money and academic principles of investing money. But I've also talked an awful lot about how to avoid the mistakes that people often make with their money. Think about it. A lot of people sold out of the market at the worst time when COVID struck, or when TARP happened, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or gold, they invested in that at the worst time. Bailing out of the market because they were worried about Y2K or 9/11 or jumping into energy stocks or jumping into cryptocurrency. One of the things that I like to do is educate investors because I believe that the more educated you are, the more confident you are, and the more confident you are, the more successful you can be as an investor. Now, I not only do that on our radio show, but we do that in our offices around the Nashville region, 10 offices. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
10:35 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Mac Maury in the producer room. Mac, what's going on with you and John in Lawrenceburg on the text line?
Just a little GBO.
What does GBO mean?
Go Big Orange, baby.
Oh, I thought it meant go Broncos, obviously. All right.
Ew. It's pronounced donkeys.
Oh, is it? All right. John Elway. I don't know. Terrell Davis.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so it was reported a couple hours ago. Steve Scalise does not currently have the floor votes to become the next House Speaker. It's from the Gateway Pundit. Speaker designate Steve Scalise finds himself in a precarious position despite winning the internal GOP nomination for Speaker of the House. After defeating House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan in a slim 113-99 closed-door victory, Scalise is now struggling to secure the floor votes needed to officially take the gavel. As the Gateway Pundit reported, House Republicans held a closed vote Wednesday to select a new nominee. We all know what happened there. Steve Scalise got the nod. It says the majority of conservatives were not happy with the outcome of the close vote. 113 rhinos part from Jim Jordan. What a disgrace. Scalise is McCarthy in the flesh. It's time for the conservatives in the party to rise up once again and reject rhinos from leadership. That was from Fox News anchor Lou Dobbs. Lou Dobbs previously wrote, Scalise is a nice guy, but remember, Scalise is a descendant of Kevin McCarthy, a descendant of Paul Ryan, a descendant of John Bonner. Republicans, this is your choice to end the swamp's corrupt business as usual. It's time for a real change. Those are harsh words coming from Lou Dobbs.
Seriously.
What do you guys think? 615-737-9986. Do you think that Scalise is a rhino? 3293 says Scalise is a former friend of KKK leader David Dukes. I don't know if that's true. Verify that for me. Could be. Political commentator and influencer Cat Turd wrote, Republican voters overwhelmingly want Jim Jordan over Steve Scalise for Speaker. So naturally, the Republican Party did a secret ballot behind closed doors to pick Steve Scalise. And now they still don't have the votes to even take it to the floor and vote. Train wreck. DC Drano took to Twitter and he said, this is everything you need to know about Steve Scalise. Can't happen. It has to be Jim Jordan to avoid World War III. And he quoted a tweet from Adam Kinzinger, who said, Steve Scalise is the best option for Ukraine. At least 6 Republicans have publicly stated they will vote for Jordan on the House floor, according to The Hill. Voting for someone other than Scalise, we got Boebert, Bob Good, who's a Republican out of Virginia, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, who, did you see Nancy Mace wearing the scarlet letter on the House floor?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Did she basically just tell everybody she's an adulterer? Is that what that is?
I don't know.
I
guess.
I don't know. She did the thing at the prayer breakfast where she said her boyfriend pulled her in. She's like, not now, babe. I got to go to a prayer breakfast. Like you're at a prayer breakfast. Don't tell that story, you weirdo. Nancy Mace to me just feels like a social media influencer who garnered some votes and is doing stuff for attention. But anyway, she says she's voting for Jim Jordan. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off on a Nancy Mace tangent. Max Miller, Republican out of Ohio, voting for Jim Jordan. Lloyd Smucker, Republican, Pennsylvania, Jim Jordan. Carlos Jimenez out of Florida. Says he's voting for Kevin McCarthy. Wow. Nailed it, Carlos. Nailed it. Not yet supporting Scalise and undecided. We have 6 Republicans, including Ken Buck. I don't know. Is he a Republican? I mean, I know he has an R next to his name. Max started looking it up. It was a
I knew he was Republican.
It was a rhetorical, brother
Let's
Mac.
see if he has rhino tendencies or something.
Oh, he's got the tendencies, all right. Michael Cloud is undecided. Thomas Massey is undecided. Chip Roy is undecided. Victoria Sparks, Republican out of Indiana. And Mike Turner out of Ohio. Marjorie Taylor Greene wrote, I just voted for Jim Jordan for Speaker on a private ballot in conference, and I will be voting for Jim Jordan on the House floor. I like Steve Scalise, and I like him so much that I wanted to see him defeat cancer more than sacrifice his health in the most difficult position in Congress. I lost my father to cancer. It's a very serious battle. We need a speaker who's able to put their full efforts into defeating the communist Democrats and save America. We must stop funding foreign wars, Ukraine. We must stop the weaponized government and hold them accountable. We must secure our border. We must protect our kids. And we need a full leadership team dedicated to this fight in these unprecedented times, Marjorie Taylor Greene added. Boebert wrote, I'll be voting for Jim Jordan to be Speaker of the House when the vote is called. In conference, Jordan received 99 votes. Scalise received 113. We had a chance to unify the party behind closed doors, but the swamp and K Street lobbyists prevented that. The American people deserved a real change in leadership, not a continuation of the status quo. I feel like those are strong words from Boebert, who was very against McCarthy, in January. She held up that vote, and then she got a big donation from McCarthy and his crew and, voted to keep him. Weird how that works, and weird how you can take that money, vote to keep McCarthy, and then turn right back around and say, the swamp and lobbyists are preventing Jim Jordan. Okay. Interesting, right?
I've got some more info on that Steve Scalise and David Duke KKK comment.
Yeah, hit me.
This is from the Missouri Independent, so I don't know, take it for what it's worth. Let's start with Scalise's, quote, association with Duke. Here's the tangible connection. Duke campaign manager Kenneth Knight lived in Scalise's neighborhood, and they were on friendly terms. That's it. No record of Scalise and Duke meeting, sharing a stage, or being in the same organization. And no record of Scalise praising Duke. When asked, Scalise condemned Duke's bigotry.
Wait, so it was just his campaign manager lived down the street?
Yeah.
So he may have accidentally gotten his mail one time? Something like that?
Keep reading.
Rocco texted it. He said, I wish someone would buy my vote. I'm sure there are Democrats that would offer. Oh, geez. 4215 said she's wearing the Scarlet Letter because she voted against McCarthy, talking about Nancy Mace. Yes, I know why she was wearing it. I just think that she's just attention, whatting. And it just seems like she's a social media influencer.
Yeah, that was clicks.
She just wants clicks. Somebody said that Scalise is another George Bush light rhino, just like McCarthy. George Bush light. Stephanie texted in and said, at some point, the Republicans will figure out that the MAGA movement is the new face of the Republican Party. We are done with the BS. I think so. 9767, Scalise is establishment. Interesting. I don't have like a major stance on Scalise, but I do think that just because you got shot doesn't mean that you're the guy for the job. Like, I get it, and I do. I would definitely lean more in favor of Jim Jordan. That's just me. 2886 says, you have to remember, these people in office think we're stupid. Well, I'll point you to another texter who was commenting on the Fetterman, the Fetterman audio saying, we don't send our best and brightest to D.C. Somebody texted in and said, if you think that's bad, there are people that voted for Fetterman. So, yeah. Maybe these guys in D.C. are right. 5829, they're a joke. They can't agree on anything. John texted in. He says, Scalise would do well and Jordan would do well. I'm tired of the holier-than-thou Republicans. There is no perfect candidate. Let's move on. Good grief. They're all light years better than Pelosi was. Yeah. All right.
Seems based.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think John Rose was on The Drive yesterday with Brian Wilson and said something along that same vein of basically, we're not going to get perfect, but let's get, really good. We've got really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like if we tried hard, we could get perfect.
Perfect.
Nobody seems to try hard in D.C. Too busy taking them breaks. It's just an absolute clown show.
What a ridiculous clown show.
Thank you. You want a Biden crime family update? You guys want a Biden crime family?
Oh, of course.
All right. Well, Comer is probing the White House's incomplete and misleading Biden classified docs timeline. James Comer is demanding that the White House explain why it put out incomplete and misleading timelines related to this discovery of classified documents at the Penn Biden Center. This is from the New York Post. Comer, the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, said the panel obtained evidence that Biden's aides began inspecting materials at his private office nearly 20 months before the sensitive papers were said to be found. The committee is concerned by the omissions in President Biden's timeline based on the following discoveries, Comer notes in a letter sent to White House counsel Edward Siskel on Wednesday. Annie Tomasini, the 80-year-old president's senior advisor, was the first of 5 White House staffers and a Department of Defense employee to rummage through the documents and materials at Biden's D.C. think tank office, Comer claims. The incident occurred just 2 months after the president's inauguration on March 18, 2021. Comer details 4 other expeditions to retrieve materials from the Penn Biden Center that was previously unknown. On May 24, 2022, Comer claimed that former White House counsel and assistant to the president, Dana Remus, contacted former Biden aide and Department of Defense employee Kathy Chung via her personal email address to retrieve the commander-in-chief's papers at the Penn Biden Center. Yeah, it sounds legit. Let me email Kathy Chung on her personal email about these classified docs. A month later, June 28th, 2022, Chung packed up Biden's things at the think tank office, according to Comer. Then on June 30th, 22, Remus, White House staffer Anthony Bernal, and another unknown White House employee went to the Penn Biden Center to take possession of the boxes of documents and materials that could not fit, but they could not fit all the boxes into their vehicle. The next wave of assessing of files and looking at boxes, according to the oversight chairman Comer, began on October 12, 2022, when White House staffer Ashley Williams and President Biden's personal attorney Pat Moore visited the president's former office. The following day, Williams returned to the Penn Biden Center and left with a few of Biden's boxes, and Bob Bauer, the president's personal attorney, texted Chung that Moore had begun sorting through the boxes. Each of the encounters was omitted from the White House's and President Biden's personal attorney's public statements. It's not the crime, it's the cover-up, right? Comer writes that President Biden's timeline was incomplete and misleading. It omitted months of communications, planning, coordinating among multiple White House officials, Ms. Chung, Penn Biden Center employees, and President Biden's personal attorneys to retrieve the boxes containing classified materials. The oversight chairman adds that there is no reasonable explanation as to why this many White House employees and lawyers were so concerned with retrieving boxes they believed only contained personal documents and materials. Again, it's not the crime, it's the cover-up. They knew it was classified documents. They knew. Comer is requesting transcribed interviews with the White House staffers involved in the previously unknown activity at the Penn Biden Center, and access to all White House communications regarding the movement of the material from the think tank and the drafting of public statements related to the discovery of sensitive documents. This comes days after special counsel Robert Hur, who is overseeing the Justice Department's probe into Biden's mishandling of White House documents, conducted those voluntary interviews with the president at the executive mansion. I do have to say, when you look at the Israel-Hamas conflict, the terror attack, the big winner in all of this is Joe Biden, because the news cycle and the mainstream media have taken their eyes off the impeachment inquiry. They've taken their eyes off the border. They've taken their eyes off the failing economy, and they have given us wall-to-wall coverage of Hamas and Israel. Wall-to-wall coverage. None of this stuff on the Biden crime family is gaining any traction anywhere. None of this stuff on the border is gaining traction anywhere. I mean, hell, even the speaker race really isn't gaining traction anywhere. You turn on one of these Mockingbird media networks, and it is all Hamas, Israel. So I can't help but think that this conflict was the best thing that could have ever happened for Joe Biden. It reminds me of when Biden just absolutely whiffed on his remarks in Hawaii, whiffed on showing up to Maui for the fires, and then was there day one after the hurricane in Florida. Like that same kind of like, ooh, thank goodness this happened. Now we can stop looking over here and we can look over here. But then Biden doesn't even handle Israel right. He's making Americans trapped in Israel pay their way back. Unreal. Can we get a serious president back? I am craving a serious president. Because right now, I mean, I can't help but agree with John Fetterman.
You all should need to know that America is not sending their best and brightest, to Washington, D.C.
Agreeing with John Fetterman was not on my bingo card for 2023, but here we are. 10:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. This is the Chris Hand Show. Thanks for hanging out with us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for Paul Winkler, Inc. With my wife and my 4 kids, we had to have a financial plan for the future. And my wife wants more kids. I don't know what she's thinking, even with a financial plan. Geez Louise. But we do have a financial plan now, thanks to my friends at Paul Winkler, Inc. Thinking about paying for weddings down the road, hopefully, college if any of the kids want it. It's a big price tag. And I'll tell you what, I've been a listener of Paul's radio show since I moved to Nashville, but it was after meeting with him and realizing he's the same guy that I heard on his radio show, smart, honest, legit, that I decided to be all in. And Paul and his team hold themselves to a higher level of fiduciary standard than is required. And because of that, government regulators require that I tell you I'm paid every time this commercial airs. But it was when I sat down with Paul, broke bread, had my financial questions answered honestly, that I decided to become a client myself. And I got to tell you, I'm impressed. Paul's a smart guy. He knows the financial world better than I do, and he can explain it to someone like me to understand it. It's amazing. And one of the main things that I love about Paul and his team, nothing is done on commission, but they are big on education. And he's made my financial goals more realistic by explaining what to do and why. And that investment education they provide is evidence-based and backed by Nobel Prize-winning research. You should check them out. Every office is run by a degree planner with over 20 years of experience. You can feel the difference between Paul's team and the rest. That experience equals confidence. So do what I did. Talk to one of his team members. You can set up a complimentary 15-minute phone call right now on his website, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com, or call 615-851-1950.
Seeing reports of an agreement reached designed to stop Iran from tapping into that $6 billion quote-unquote humanitarian fund. Details at 11 on Supertalk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Make sure you're following us on social media at 99.7 WTN. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, True Social, at Chris Hand on Air. Mac, is your sports podcast out?
Yeah, just released the latest episode yesterday.
Okay, what's your Twitter so people can find it?
Mac J. Morey 25.
Mac J. Morey 25. You got to simplify that, bro.
I know. I got to truncate that.
We should just do like something about Taylor Swift. Just something really simple that the Swifties can find.
Mac Swifty.
Mac Swifty, I like that. All right. And Taylor's going to be at the game tonight?
Oh, yeah.
I said to Mac, do you have any show prep for tomorrow? He said, well, Taylor Swift's going to be at the Chiefs game. I said, no, I said show prep, Mac. It's 11 o'clock on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Ken Weaver's got the latest breaking news for you on 99.7 WTN.
$11 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now, the Washington Post is reporting that the U.S. and Qatar have come to an agreement that will stop Iran from tapping into $6 billion Iran says it was going to use for humanitarian means. That money, of course, was frozen, but then President Biden freed it up in a prisoner swap. Meanwhile, Tom Rivers reports on concern that Israel's war with Hamas starting it, of course, could spill over borders.
At a NATO meeting in Brussels, Britain's newly appointed defense chief, Grant Shapps, says
it's very important that other countries, other organizations don't think that now is the time to pitch in. The United Kingdom's absolutely firm alongside our allies in saying to other organizations, don't do that.
Other voices, however, counter the Middle East is none of NATO's business. The 57-nation Organization of Islamic Cooperation strongly condemns the ongoing Israeli military campaign, and it holds Israel fully responsible for any repercussions that may follow.
Meanwhile, in Israel, Secretary of State Antony Blinken telling reporters U.S. military assistance for Israel is arriving daily. Elsewhere in D.C., the House Speaker's race seems deadlocked again. Tennessee 4th District Congressman Scott DesJarlais telling WTN's Nashville's Morning News Steve Scalise was nominated, but barely.
The conference was pretty much evenly split. Jordan would be considered probably more conservative than Steve Scalise, and it shows that our conference is probably split that way, that we have moderate Republicans from swing states, and we have more conservative Republicans from red states like Tennessee, Alabama.
House was scheduled to meet right now, but DesJarlais at the time said no one really knew exactly why they were going to be meeting. And the world has gotten a close-up look at the asteroid material brought back by NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission last month. Jim Ryan says it's a small package with potentially enormous implications.
Weighing in at about half a pound, the sample from the surface of the asteroid Bennu contains high amounts of carbon and evidence of water.
They are crucial elements in the formation of our own planet.
NASA Administrator and former astronaut Bill Nelson says Bennu was formed at about the same time as the Earth. These samples are like a history book.
They're going to help us determine the origin of elements that could have led to life.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
11:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Thank you for joining us on the Chris Hand Show. Phone lines and Super Text line open, 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. You are welcome to join the show. We got Mac producing, Ken in the newsroom. But the most important member of our show is you. Every day. It's you. Your counterpoints, your comments, always greatly appreciated. Now, I was saying earlier, Joe Biden is really benefiting from the Israel-Hamas war that is raging after the Hamas terror attacks. And it's because the news cycle is off him saying stuff like this.
Look, I mean, I'll never forget. Well, I won't go into that. Anyway.
Yeah, so that was him yesterday.
What?
Have you noticed that he's doing this breathing thing a lot more now?
Yes.
I'll never.
It seems like every speech he's doing that like the soul's getting sucked out of him breathing.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. Well, I won't go into that. Anyway.
Okay.
All right. Anyways. Okay. No, it does sound like there's like a Dementor in front of him or something. It's quite strange.
And he was asked about the report of the babies that had been decapitated.
I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children. I never thought I'd ever. Anyway, but there are countries in the region that are trying to be of some help, including Arab nations that are trying to be of some help. So, anyway.
Definitive statements from the resident-in-chief. I will point out, a Biden staffer walked that comment back, said he did not see the pictures. It was reported by the Washington Post. And then a spokesman for the IDF came out and said on Newsmax yesterday, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, he wouldn't confirm it on Newsmax, but then he later confirmed it with the BBC. So for all intents and purposes, it does look like that story does appear to be true. And whether the story is true or false, it doesn't make Hamas less or more evil, for the record. And it appears like they are getting exactly what they deserve via the IDF currently. And to that, I say good. Dennis in Murfreesboro, you have a comment on Joe Biden and the teleprompter. That's Joe Biden's greatest adversary. What's up, Dennis? You're on Super Talk.
Yeah, I had to get out of the. Thank you for taking my call. I had to get out of the car about an hour ago, and so I'm jumping back to something. And if y'all have already covered it, I apologize and just stop me, okay? But when Joe Biden was meeting with the Jewish community leaders yesterday, and he was stumbling and mumbling and bumbling because it was like he was looking through his notes trying to read something, it appeared that his teleprompter was not on. And once the teleprompter came back on, he started reading the teleprompter, and he repeated the same thing he'd stumbled and bumbled through on his notes. Not sure if you saw that or not.
Interesting.
The second thing is, go ahead.
No, you go for it, man.
The second thing is, if you'll notice, the Democratic presidents have financed the Iranians. Carter released $8 billion for the release of the 52 hostages. Obama released $1.7 billion for the to try to strike the deal on the nuclear, holding back on the nuclear production for the bomb Iran had, and then Biden has released $6 billion plus for the 5 hostages. Just interesting that we're financing the Iranian regime. I'll get off and let y'all talk from there.
Hey, I appreciate it. It's a great point. Democrats love sending pallets of cash to Iran. Weird. And yeah, it seemed like Joe Biden's teleprompter wasn't working, or it just wasn't, his brain wasn't working. Either way, he had more comments while he was in front of those Jewish leaders, and he said this about the press.
And already we're surging additional military assistance to the Israeli Defense Force, including ammunition, interceptors to replenish the Iron Dome, and we've moved the U.S. carrier fleet to the Eastern Mediterranean, and we're sending more fighter jets there in that region, and made it clear to the Iranians, be careful. We want to make it real clear. We're working on every aspect of the hostage crisis in Israel, including deploying experts to advise and assist with recovery efforts. Now, the press is going to shout to me, and many of you are, that, what are you doing to get these folks home? If I told you, I wouldn't be able to get them home. Folks, there's a lot we're doing.
Yeah, they're doing a lot. The press is going to shout at me to say, what are we doing to get these folks home? If I told you, we wouldn't be able to get them home. Well, what they're doing is they're making them pay back the money for the plane tickets. That's what they're doing.
A lot we're doing. I have not given up hope of bringing these folks home. But the idea that I'm going to stand here before you and tell you what I'm doing is bizarre. So I hope you understand how bizarre I think it would be to try to answer that question.
Didn't Democrats used to always tell their plans and politicians before Trump said, why would I tell you my plans? And now that was a bad answer when Trump said it, but now it's a good answer. Weird. Carol in Nashville, you have a comment on the baby story. You're on Super Talk. What's up, Carol?
I'm calling about a comment that you made, and I'm sorry, it was yesterday or the day before when I was listening, and it was about the babies, and you were quite skeptical of whether or not this story was true.
Yes, ma'am.
And I am sure that you're as skeptical about anything you report unless you were there firsthand. So you don't take the firsthand reports coming from reputable reporters on the ground in Israel. You were not taking that. You were just casting doubt.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't believe that Hamas would do something like that.
No. It wasn't that I couldn't believe that Hamas would do something like that. And I also said multiple times, it's very believable. It's absolutely believable. But I think extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. And everything that I traced it back to was one reporter for I-24 saying that she received a statement from one unnamed soldier. Not that she had seen it herself. And that's where my skepticism came in.
Well, are you that skeptical when you report any news or just this?
I think it's good.
And I'm saying,
I think it's good to be skeptical, and I do. I can kind of sense some frustration from you, but I think it's important to point out that we've been lied to so many times to enter foreign conflicts that I think that a healthy amount of skepticism goes a long way. I
understand that.
But if the story's true or if the story's false, I don't think that the people that committed the terrorist attack in Israel are any less or more evil. Like, if it came out that they're using grannies in wheelchairs for target practice, like, I'm not going to think they're any more evil than I already think they are. Like, we all agree that we all agree Hamas is evil.
I understand what you're saying. I'm simply quibbling with what I saw on TV, which were lots of blood, lots of first-hand comments about what the soldiers saw when they got there. So, hard to be skeptical of that, but I've kept you too long. Thank you very much for what you do.
Hey, no, and I appreciate your call, Carol, and I appreciate you pushing back. You didn't keep me long at all. I welcome these kind of calls. I really do. But I think healthy skepticism is like important right now. Like, do I just immediately start believing everything Joe Biden says because he's lied to us for pretty much all of his term?
Name one politician that hasn't.
It's a short list.
Oh, come on.
No, they all lie. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Oh, that's okay. We were saying the same thing. I took it the other way.
No.
Yes, they all tell us what we want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. We both agree. I think that you're more open to skepticism than you're willing to admit.
Well, perhaps I am, but the babies, that's just something you can't just gloss over. I mean, it's just heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking, and I completely agree with you. As a dad, it almost grabbed me immediately. And then I had to take a step back and think, am I being emotionally manipulated via this headline? Because in 1991, when the Gulf War happened, they had a story about babies in incubators that was just as sad, that ushered us into the Gulf War, which was later proven to be completely false. So I don't want to seem heartless, but I also don't want to make decisions or support decisions with long-lasting impacts over emotional manipulation. Now, that being said, is this story true? It very well could be. But I have to put on my skeptic hat. Do you know what I mean?
It's just unbelievable believable to me, and I don't know how many other people, of course, that anyone would walk into a scene like that and, oh, well, this is not bad enough. Let's make this into it. I mean, these people are fearing for their life. They're not going to lie about what the people have done. I don't think.
Well,
that's just me.
But did you see the original news report from I-24?
No, I did not see that.
So I would suggest you trace it back to I-24 and watch the original news report, because even the language that she uses in that first news report that everybody ran with is not the same as the headlines of 40 babies beheaded. Now, if that ends up being true, and it very well could be, I'll be the first to tell you. But to me, it felt like emotional manipulation. But I could be wrong. I don't want to be wrong, and I pray that it didn't happen. But I could be wrong.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate the call. Appreciate the call, Carol. Thank you so much. Mary in Nashville, you have skepticism in the news. Mary, you're on Super Talk. What's up?
There's a real easy way to find out if these are true, which I believe they are. You go to the websites for the Israel news. You go to Jerusalem News. There's a couple other ones. They'll have the true stories in there. Our media doesn't, other than maybe Newsmax and Breitbart. I go to their websites. I don't watch any news here at all. But there are websites up for Israel for their news, and that's where you should go to find the truth.
I appreciate the call, Mary. Thank you so much for your input. It's greatly appreciated. I got a text. Her point is, are you this skeptical about other reporting, i.e. some story that maligns the Bidens? That's from our friend Terry. I try to be. I do. I try to be. I just don't want to have knee-jerk reactions. But I'm not saying that Hamas isn't evil. I'm not saying that they're not about to get what they deserve via Israel. Ben in Kentucky, you have a comment on skepticism. Ben, you're on Super Talk.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing fine. I was just calling about the emotional manipulation that is tangible evidence on YouTube. CNN is faking the reporters being in danger to incite emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted people to know that you cannot follow these mainstream media platforms anymore. I mean, I always thought that is the word. Nowadays, you need to find independent journalism on boots on the ground, doing their job, getting word to the people.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Independent journalism is very much valued. And thanks for the call. It's like the biggest story of the 2016 presidential election, the story that was broke was Hillary falling into that van. Do you remember that on Twitter? And it was broke by an average citizen who just happened to pull their phone out and record. And that was one of the biggest stories of the 2016 election cycle. Just a regular guy. Independent journalism is alive and well, and I do value that much, much more than Mockingbird Media. Is this story true? It very well could be. I pray that it's not. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hanford, Jeff Eddy's Efficient Heating and Cooling. We're getting to that cold part of the year, and you may need your heater serviced. You may want to do that before you kick it on, and it can be so hard to find somebody you trust when it comes to these large home repairs. It can be so hard to find somebody you trust when it comes to servicing your HVAC unit. Well, call my guy, Jeff Eddy, with Jeff Eddy's Efficient Heating and Cooling. They're a small company with big service, and you can trust Jeff and his crew to do what's right because they prove it every single time. Now, if you've run into problems with your HVAC unit, and you're like, man, is it time to replace this thing? Or can I skate by another season with just replacing a part? Well, the guys you need to call is Jeff Eddy and Efficient HVAC. They'll walk you through every option scenario so that way you can make an informed decision on what to do with your HVAC unit. The other guys, well, they'll just pressure you to replace a unit because they make more money that way. Not with Jeff Eddy. But with Efficient, they do offer up to 18 months, same as cash financing on your next unit should you need to replace it. They're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and an elite pro partner with Rheem. If you need more info, go to efficienthvac.net, efficienthvac.net, or call 615-784-4424.
New developments related to $6 billion in frozen assets for Iran and how that relates to Israel at war, the war that Hamas started. And in this country, cops are in the hospital. A suspect is not in custody. We'll tell you where and what. Coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. Real quick, I want to wish a happy anniversary to one of our favorite listeners, Ann, and her husband, Mark. Ann is just fresh out of super text jail. And we just want to say happy anniversary to her. Woo! Hope you guys are enjoying your anniversary. 32 years. That's older. Wow. That's older than you, Mac.
Yeah. By a minute.
How old are you now?
Crazy.
How old are you now?
25.
Okay, so they've been married since you were -7.
Yep, that's about it.
All right. All right, Matthew's waiting on the line. You got a quick comment on the baby story, and then we're going to move on from it because there's really no developments. What's up, Matthew? You're on Super Talk.
Hey, gentlemen. Pleasure speaking with you. I wanted to start off telling you, so I listen to NPR on a regular basis, and I do it because I want to understand what the other side thinks. But a couple of weeks ago, there was a gentleman from the University of Alabama, and he is the leading expert in geriatrics in America. And he was talking about how he has been keeping pretty close tabs on Biden, and he's very interested in Biden, but he was very adamant about how he had the ability to run again and serve another 4 years confidently, and just wanted to kind of put that out there that there's people out there that believe these things, and they're leading experts in their fields.
Yeah, it would be shocking if we didn't see it every day. I mean, I still see people with Biden-Harris bumper stickers and wonder, what are you guys thinking?
I don't know. It makes you wonder, especially, I'm on the road a lot. I drive. So you see things all over the country, and it really kind of blows your mind. One thing that really baffles me is there's so much support for Trump around this country that it makes you wonder how, as much support for this individual you see, that, how the Democrats are in power and hold so much control. It baffles my mind, just on the road, seeing in person kind of the truth that's out there.
Oh, I mean, we were driving through, I think it was like Woodbury, and I saw a handmade wood Trump sign. Have you ever seen a handmade Biden sign?
No, I have not. Never.
I've never even seen a Biden hat unless it has an F in front of the JB.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I mean, hey, thanks for the call, man. And, oh, no, go ahead.
Absolutely. I just want to say again, hey, I appreciate y'all. Listen to you all the time and keep up the wonderful work.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate you. Stay safe out there driving. I think what Matthew said is important. He says he listens to NPR all the time. I try to listen to a lot of liberal-leaning outlets because you want to see what they're talking about and what their take is on certain events. I think it's good to hear both sides.
For sure.
Can be excruciatingly painful sometimes.
I mean, but it's what you say to listeners who may be on the same side as you but disagree on specific topics, an echo chamber, You
get out of the echo chamber.
Yep.
Talk to people that disagree with you. Listen to people that disagree with you. And let new information be able to change your mind. That's always important. Yep. Somebody said, 1833 text in, said, we had a truck driver with a handmade Trump train.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Trump train?
I also had another texter, 9058, said, did you just say a boot? Are you Canadian?
So it begins.
Yeah. If I'm Canadian, Mac Maury is a Broncos fan. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Ken Weaver's got the news.
$11:30 on the dot this Thursday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Getting a lot more sun today than we had yesterday. I didn't get any at my house. And we're going to tell you when this cool down on the way, when it exactly is going to be rolling in. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Breaking news out of Minnesota. 5 police officers have reportedly been shot, and they're in the hospital. This is near Princeton, Minnesota. The suspect is not in custody. The good news is reports say the 5 officers are going to be okay. Israel at war. The Washington Post reporting U.S. officials and the Qatari government have agreed to stop Iran from accessing a $6 billion account for humanitarian assistance in light of Hamas's attack on Israel. That money had been frozen until President Biden announced last month that banks would be allowed to transfer it as part of a prisoner swap with Iran. And in our nation's capital, the fight for House Speaker continues as Republican representatives try to get several holdouts to stand behind the conference speaker designate, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, but a vote may not come for a number of days. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've been teaching investing on Nashville airwaves for over 20 years with the Investor Coaching Show. And in that time, I taught a lot about how markets work and how we invest money and academic principles of investing money. But I've also talked an awful lot about how to avoid the mistakes that people often make with their money. Think about it. A lot of people sold out of the market at the worst time when COVID struck, or when TARP happened, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or gold, they invested in that at the worst time. Bailing out of the market because they were worried about Y2K or 9/11 or jumping into energy stocks or jumping into cryptocurrency. One of the things that I like to do is educate investors because I believe that the more educated you are, the more confident you are, and the more confident you are, the more successful you can be as an investor. Now, I not only do that on our radio show, but we do that in our offices around the Nashville region, 10 offices. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Hey everybody, Dan Mattis with Nashville's Morning News on WTN. I'm here at the Nashville Rescue Mission doing the interviews that I look forward to doing every single year. These are incredible stories of people who have had amazing recoveries. Thanks to this amazing facility, they are able to get clean and lead a more productive life. The date of our annual radiothon is going to be Monday, November 20th. Listen in and please donate. You can get more information at 99.7 WTN, including a link to the website for Nashville's Rescue Mission.
Look, I mean, I'll never forget. Well, I won't go into that. Anyway.
It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 1135. My name is Chris Hand. Did I catch you off guard playing that audio, Mac? Mac's in there just laughing. Those remarks from Biden yesterday. He keeps doing that.
It's getting progressively worse.
That little, like, Do you hear that?
What?
I'll never forget. Well, I won't go into that. Anyway.
So, like when you do promos and stuff, a little inside baseball. So like I've made promos for the station before. That you can put reverb on something, right? It has like that little echoey trail out.
Yeah.
So if you reverse the word and then you do the reverb, you can reverse it back, and it's like the reverb trails into the word. It's like preverb. And that's what it sounds like when Biden does his breathy thing.
I'll never forget.
The musicians will know what I'm talking about. I probably explained it like
That can't be healthy. That noise coming out of you on a regular basis. That's not good.
No, I mean that's like his soul coming out of it.
That probably happened long ago.
The soul of America. That's what's at stake.
I'll never forget. Well, I won't go into that. Anyway.
Got a couple texts. Sounds like Darth Vader. I agree.
It does sound like Darth Vader.
It's very Darth Vader-y.
1285 said he's a robot. I think that gives a bad name to robots. With the advances that we've had in artificial intelligence and cybernetics, and I mean, Elon Musk is still alive. Like we could do better.
Yeah, I'd be concerned for our tech gurus if that's the best we can come up with.
Yeah, we're really falling behind China if the best that we can do is
I'll never forget. Well, I won't go into that. Anyway.
I love how he gets so happy at the end there. Like, well, I won't go to that.
Anyway.
Anyway. That was normal anyway.
Anyway. Oh, jeez. Did you hear the first husband, Doug Harris?
Dougie.
His comments?
Can I be honest? I didn't know his name. But so I guess I didn't hear it. I've seen him before.
People harassed me during the Amigos because I said Doug Harris. That's her last name.
Oh, yeah.
I said that as a joke. So anyway, Doug Harris, he introed Joe before those remarks. And this is what he said about the Biden-Harris administration. You ready for this?
Thank God we have the steady leadership of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris during this unthinkable time in our history.
What?
Steady.
It's very good acting from Doug.
No, what did you say that was a lie? He said steady leadership.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris during this unthinkable time.
He said steady leadership. I mean, it's been a steady decline.
Yeah. We've been steadily headed towards the crap hole, yeah.
We've steadily been heading towards World War III. We've steadily been rising the deficit.
Steadily getting more and more ticked off, more and more broke. It's very steady.
Inflation has been steady.
Oh, yeah.
Rising steadily.
Oh, yeah.
You're right. Car prices have been going up steadily since he took office. We steadily are paying more for things. So I agree with first husband Doug.
Thank God we have the steady leadership of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
The only thing that hasn't been steady during this administration is just Joe Biden walking in general. That would be the only thing. Other than that, pretty steady. Pretty steady.
Yeah, when you ask him to do the stairs thing, that's a little less steady, but
we'll take the short steps on Air Force One. Thank you very much. It's a little less steady. That wasn't all he had to say. He's like, we're so thankful for them. Everybody loves them.
Their moral compass, their calm, their empathy are what we need in this time of crisis. Thank God.
Thank God.
Doug, come on.
And I'm sorry, is that how you say it? Moral compass?
Yeah, that was weird.
It sounds like a snub. You like, yes, darling, get my compass.
Their moral compass.
Compass.
Sounds a very pompous way to say compass.
Their moral compass.
Their moral compass.
Yes. Yes, lovey.
You got with Cavuto before.
Yes. Oh, geez. Kamala Harris was hanging out with Justin Jones, too, yesterday. Do you know what she eats for breakfast, young Mac?
No, what does she have for the most important meal today?
The other point I will make here is it is a false choice to say that we either care about...
Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. There it is. Hold on.
I will tell you I eat no for breakfast.
She eats no for
Oh,
breakfast.
wow. Gosh, she thought that was so cool.
So she's doing this sit down in Charleston with Justin Jones. And I don't often feel bad for Justin Jones. But every time she answered a question, he's like, what am I doing here? Like,
wow.
He had this look that this was cringy.
I will tell you I eat no for breakfast. I don't hear no. And I encourage you not to hear it.
Ugh. She's got Justin Jones looking at you like that.
Are we in the Me Too era? Like she's encouraging people not to hear no?
Yeah.
This is dangerous.
It is.
Especially in the liberal crowds. What do you think is worse, the cackle? or the Joe Biden death rattle? Which one do you think is worse?
Cackle.
The cackle?
Cackle.
I'll never.
You sure?
Oh, that just sounds evil, though. The cackle really does. It sounds like she's gaining in power, whereas Biden's clearly depleting.
Yep. I made this joke earlier, but in case you're just tuning in, when she entered the club, the club, when she entered the speaking event with Justin Jones, she acted the same way Mac Maury acts when he enters a bar on Broadway. You ready?
Cougars!
Well, I've gotten a couple of texts saying she eats children for breakfast. That's, ooh, jeez.
Oh, whoa.
Okay. A lot of people saying the cackle is definitely worse.
Got to be the cackle.
Yep. Oh, my gosh. You guys crack me up. There's a lot of super texts I can't read. There's a lot of super texts I can't read.
Oh, yep. There was like two that I was about to read, and I read fully through them, and then it's like, oh, wait. I guess.
It's like the super texts are trying to catch us slipping sometimes.
They are.
Like they start their text off very normal, and then bam, inappropriate by sentence 2. All right, but back to the news. Joe Biden, he hasn't fixed our southern border yet. And it's getting worse. Breitbart is reporting that 24,000 Chinese migrants were apprehended at the southwest border in fiscal year 2023. 24,000 from China. That's not good. Is that good? That can't be good. So they have secret police stations here. The Chinese, they're buying land and flying balloons, and they're sneaking in through the southern border. Unreal. The southern border is an absolute mess. And it's not just the Chinese that are sneaking in. They're also seeing huge numbers from Syria in recent weeks. It's got to make you feel good, right?
I want to play some of this footage. I went back to Lukeville, Arizona. And what I saw should shock every single American. As soon as I got there was a tent of 150 fighting-age men, mostly from West Africa, Muslim countries in Africa, the Middle East, and India. And what they told me is that they actually, the new place that they're getting all of these people from, right here, you can see the footage right there on the screen. Those tents, that was yesterday, and this is happening every single day. 150 of them. They said they had over 500 yesterday alone in that one location. 500. And what scared me, now I went up, the Border Patrol, you could tell, was so frustrated. They wanted me to get in there and film it and show you close up. As soon as I did that, at the end of this video, I had a guy come out from National Park, said I couldn't be that close. I couldn't film this. I had to go across the street. And our own national park, our national monument down there. This is what's coming into America. But the scariest part, Border Patrol came up to me and he said, you need to know and you need to report this. We're getting huge numbers from Syria right now.
Huge numbers from Syria right now. So Border Patrol tells the reporter for Real America's Voice, you need to know this, you need to report this. And the National Parks officer comes up and says, you got to go across the street. Breitbart is also reporting that the El Paso sector Border Patrol agents raided more than 280 human smuggling stash houses during the recently ended fiscal year 2023. 280 human smuggling stash houses. It's like the cartels like smuggling. The smuggling is insane. All right, so the raids on the stash house operations in far west Texas and southern New Mexico led to the apprehension of more than 3,600 migrants, and they mean illegal aliens, who were in the process of being smuggled into the U.S. interior. El Paso Border Patrol officials report their agents participated in the disruption of 281 smuggling stash house operations during fiscal year 23, which ended September 30th. This is up approximately 240 from the previous year. So in fiscal year 22, if you're keeping score at home, it was 41. And then in fiscal year 23, 281. Insane. Absolutely insane. And the pictures are even crazier. That was all reported by Breitbart News. You can go find those on Twitter. Deplorable conditions. Smugglers that don't care for the well-being of migrants. Images depict living conditions in a stash house where 9 people were staying. Sunland Park police discovered 5 migrants, illegal aliens, 4 children, after a 6-year-old called 911. Jeez. And it's only getting worse, guys. It's only getting worse. 11:47 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We are coming to a close of the Chris Hand Show. Matt Murphy's going to be joining us next. He's got a big show for you today, and he's going to tell us what he has planned on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey everybody, Dan Mattis with Nashville's Morning News on WTN. I'm here at the Nashville Rescue Mission doing the interviews that I look forward to doing every single year. These are incredible stories of people who have had amazing recoveries. Thanks to this amazing facility, they are able to get clean and lead a more productive life. The date of our annual radiothon is going to be Monday, November 20th. Listen in and please donate. You can get more information at 99.7 WTN, including a link to the website for Nashville's Rescue Mission.
11:54 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Matt Murphy stepping into the fray. What's up, Matt?
Hello.
Dude, look at you. You got all these notes today?
I'm all prepared. I started to do this story yesterday. I don't know if you've seen it. I don't want to get in your way. I don't want to jump in here too quick, but
tell me.
I brought this story up, and even bringing it up, super text line explodes, and then I couldn't get back to it.
What's the story?
This reads like a Babylon Bee story. Governor Gavin Newsom has signed the Ebony Alert bill in California. Are you aware of this?
Yeah.
For black people only.
Yeah.
I don't. So we're going to discuss that at some point today. We're going to dive into it a little more deeply.
He signed a slew of bills. He signed that walking while trans. Did you hear that?
Yes.
What a
nut job.
It just legalized prostitution in California.
So Amber Alerts are issued for children.
Yep.
And someone somewhere in California said, hey, black people aren't getting enough attention. And I suppose, so they proposed this legislation for Ebony Alerts that would not just specifically single out black children, but also black females if they go missing. So black females get all of the signage and the alert system on your phones and all of that. White female goes missing, white male, black male. No other category or class gets that treatment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
I guess it makes sense to me.
So what's I'm being very careful. I'm gonna get myself in trouble.
I'm baffled by it.
How does that work? What about
the same groups of people that told us that they fought tirelessly in the 1950s and 1960s to realize the dream of Martin Luther King are now going 180 degrees against the concept of people should be judged by their character and not the color of their skin. It boggles my mind.
Yeah.
But, that's the political left for you. And then the other story I noticed, did you see the panel truck doxing at Harvard?
Yes.
I love it. Fight. There are certain times where I say, hey, guys, let's not become them. And there are certain times that I say, let's go all in and become them.
So there's a trending articles tab on Twitter now, and I saw a Babylon Bee article, but it caught me off guard. I didn't realize it was a Babylon Bee. It said Harvard students left their microaggressions class to go protest for Palestine.
So yeah, for those that don't know, there's a panel truck driving around the campus of Harvard, showing the photographs and names of the individual students that signed a document declaring that Israel was responsible for Hamas killing women and children, which also doesn't make any sense. But
no.
But we got our president. President of the United States is on top of all of this. Don't worry.
Oh, he is. Did you hear what he said? Did you? He brought that up. Listen to this.
Let's listen.
Look, I mean, I'll never forget. Well, I won't go into that. Anyway,
that's what he said. That was his.
I heard you this morning on Nashville's Morning News, and you're exactly right. The death rattle is getting more prominent and pronounced every time he hits the stage.
What is happening?
Like he's taking saying that final goodbye. I mean, that's just creepy.
Yeah. Well,
we got confidence in our United States military right now. We're on top of this jihad tomorrow, right? We're going to handle this.
Do you got any plans for the global jihad?
I don't know. What should we do?
Strap up. I don't know.
It's every day.
Every day.
Every day, baby.
That's it.
Of course, I don't violate any company policy rules.
No. We wouldn't do anything like that.
Protect myself.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I won't go into that. Anyway.
Anyway.
Murphy's up next. It's Super Talk 99.7.